You remember the moment clearly. The apology that felt like sunlight after weeks of storm. The way your chest loosened when they finally texted back. The relief was so intense it almost felt like love. But it wasn't love. Not exactly. Somewhere in your life, you have felt this. A person who hurt you, and yet you could not walk away. Every time they pulled back, you leaned in harder. Every time they came back, you forgave faster than you should have. You've probably asked yourself why. Maybe you called it weakness, maybe you called it love. But the real answer is much stranger. Your brain was never asking whether this person was good for you. It was asking something else entirely. And once you understand the question your brain was actually answering, you will never see heartbreak the same way again. Let's start with a reframe that changes everything. The attachment you feel towards someone who hurts you is not a malfunction. It is your nervous system working exactly as it was designed to work, just aimed at the wrong target. To understand this, you have to go back to something psychologist John Bowlby discovered decades ago. Bowlby studied why infants form such powerful bonds with their caregivers. His answer was simple but radical. Attachment is not about pleasure. It is about survival. A baby does not bond with a parent because the parent is kind. A baby bonds with whoever keeps it alive, kind or not. Mary Ainsworth took this further. She ran an experiment called the strange situation, watching how children reacted when a caregiver left the room and returned. What she found still shapes how psychologists understand relationships today. Some children were securely attached, but others showed something stranger. When the caregiver was inconsistent, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, the child clung even tighter. Uncertainty did not weaken the bond, it strengthened it. Sit with that for a second. Uncertainty made the bond stronger, not weaker. This is the hinge point of everything that follows. Your brain has a reward system built around a chemical called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is released when something good happens. That is only half true. Neuroscientists have found that dopamine spikes hardest not when a reward arrives, but when a reward is uncertain, when you do not know if it is coming. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and it was first mapped out by psychologist B.F. Skinner. Skinner discovered that behavior rewarded unpredictably is harder to extinguish than behavior rewarded every single time. A slot machine does not pay out every pull. That is exactly why it is addictive. Your brain does not chase certainty, it chases the possibility of reward. Now put a person into that machine. Someone who is warm sometimes and cold other times is not giving you a stable relationship. They are giving you a slot machine with a heartbeat. Every kind moment after a cold one hits your brain harder than kindness ever could on its own, because your dopamine system is not responding to affection. It is responding to relief from uncertainty. This is why the making up can feel more intense than love that was steady all along. Your nervous system is not rewarding the relationship. It is rewarding the escape from fear. But dopamine is only half the story. There is another chemical involved, and its name is oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It is released during physical closeness, emotional vulnerability, and even during conflict resolution. Here is the part almost no one realizes. Oxytocin spikes during reconciliation. The very act of making up after pain deepens the bond further. Anthropologist Helen Fisher, who spent years studying the brain chemistry of love and heartbreak, found that this combination of dopamine craving and oxytocin bonding is part of why romantic rejection can activate the same brain regions as physical pain and addiction withdrawal. You are not imagining the pain of losing someone who hurt you. Your brain is registering it the way it registers withdrawal from a substance. This is what psychologists now call trauma bonding. It is not a metaphor. It is a measurable pattern where the cycle of tension, pain, and relief creates a bond stronger than comfort alone could ever create. But here is the twist almost no one expects. This pattern does not start in your adult relationships. It starts long before you ever met the person who hurt you. Childhood conditioning shapes what your nervous system recognizes as love. If you grew up with a caregiver who was inconsistent, sometimes present, sometimes emotionally distant, your brain learned a specific lesson early on. Love is not something you receive. Love is something you have to win back. Physician and trauma researcher Gabor Mate has spent much of his career studying how early emotional environments shape adult relationship patterns. His research suggests that the nervous system does not simply remember painful relationships, it rehearses them, searching unconsciously for familiar emotional terrain, even when that terrain is unstable. This means the chaos does not feel wrong to your brain. It feels like home. And this is where fear of abandonment enters the picture. If your early experience taught you that connection could disappear without warning, your brain becomes hypervigilant to any sign of distance. Ironically, the more unpredictable someone is, the more your attention locks onto them. Not because you want chaos, but because your brain is trying to solve a puzzle it never fully solved as a child. Psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk, known for his research on trauma, has described how the body keeps a record of these early experiences long after the conscious mind has moved on. The pull you feel towards someone who hurts you is not a decision. It is a memory, playing out in your body before your thinking mind even catches up. This is the scientific evidence stacking up. Bowlby showed attachment is about survival, not pleasure. Ainsworth showed inconsistency deepens bonds instead of breaking them. Skinner showed unpredictable reward is more addictive than reliable reward. Fisher showed heartbreak activates the same circuits as addiction. Van der Kolk and Mate showed the body remembers what the mind forgets. Put these together and the mystery dissolves. You were never choosing pain. Your brain was chasing relief, using an old blueprint it built before you even had the words to describe what love should feel like. There is one more layer, and it comes from the work of psychologist Daniel Kahneman, who studied how humans make decisions under uncertainty. Kahneman found that people consistently overvalue the possibility of a positive outcome, even when the odds are stacked against them. This is a cognitive bias, and it explains why one good moment with a person who hurts you can outweigh 10 bad ones in your memory. Your brain is not doing accurate math. It is doing hopeful math. So when you look back at the people who hurt you and still cannot fully explain why you stayed, understand this. It was never a character flaw. It was chemistry, memory, and a nervous system trying to keep you safe using rules it learned before you could question them. Modern relationships make this even harder to notice. A delayed text message can trigger the same uncertainty that once made a child cling harder to an inconsistent caregiver. A cold reply can spike cortisol before you even realize why you feel anxious. The same ancient wiring built for survival in unpredictable environments is now running in the background of your phone notifications. Understanding this does not mean you are broken. It means you are human, wired by millions of years of evolution and shaped further by the specific environment you grew up in. Once you can name the pattern, dopamine seeking uncertainty, oxytocin deepening the bond during reconciliation, childhood conditioning setting the blueprint, you gain something you did not have before: choice. Because the moment you recognize that the intensity you feel is not proof of love, but proof of an old survival mechanism firing correctly in the wrong context, everything shifts. You stop asking why you can't let go. You start asking what your nervous system was actually trying to protect you from all along. And maybe that is the real answer you were looking for. Not that you loved too much, not that you were too weak to leave, but that your brain, doing exactly what it was built to do, mistook a familiar kind of pain for a familiar kind of home. You remember the moment clearly. The apology that felt like sunlight after weeks of storm. Now you know what that relief really was. Not love returning, just your nervous system finally exhaling.